Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with Salvation, Season 1, Episode 4 review. So, this week, CBS came out and gave us 2 episodes in one night, and that is the reason I'm kind of late with this one. I know this was already on Wednesday, and today is Saturday. So usually I like to get them out one day after, but the double episode definitely threw me off here. I watched the first episode Wednesday night, but then the second episode, because I thought I was going to do the review right away or whatever. Second episode I kind of forgot about, and I just watched it last night. So that is sort of my excuse for being late. Not really a reasonable one, but yeah, so the double episode CBS gave us, and they do this with Zoo as well. Now, I'm not exactly sure why. My prediction was that it helps their the viewers, especially for a season 1 like this, where they need the ratings to keep it going, right? To renew another season. And I think in my opinion, it's to help the ratings because if you have one episode, let's say like last week and then this week, the ratings can change. But if you have 2 episodes in one night, people are gonna watch the whole 2 hours of not 2 hours of show, but 2 hours on the network, basically, right? Because you're gonna they probably advertise it as a marathon or as a double episode, right? So people are gonna watch both, and so they get the same ratings and they get better ratings. But that's just my theory. And they're also doing it with the finale, so that means that we have 3 weeks left, or no, 2 weeks left of this show. So there's only 8 episodes for season 1 that got picked up. So hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers here because I am in love with the series after these 2 episodes, that it gets renewed for season 2. I'm really hoping. I really like it so far. But we will see. So only 2 weeks left, and the episode 7 and episode 8 are again paired as a double episode. So that will probably be a little bit later on. After that comes out, but I will definitely come at you guys with that review then. So anyways, for this one, I just thought double episode, instead of making, a 45-minute review or something like that, I'm going to do 2 videos for each, so 1 for each episode, just like I usually would, but I just thought I'd mention this, that it's a double episode. Yes, so I'm going to try to keep episode 5 out of this one, but I may mention some of it because it is, fair game, because people watching episode 4 definitely probably would have seen episode 5 right after. So, yeah, fair enough. So, let's get into it. So, basically, we see at the beginning of this one that Darius Tanz there buys a Bill of Rights, or the Bill of Rights at this auction. And he outbids Mr. Bloomberg, he says in it, which is pretty funny, it's a real guy, obviously. And says, he tapped out at 20 million or something like that. So, kind of cool there, and that sort of foreshadows what's going to happen. And then Jillian and Liam get ready for Jillian's first day, and Liam there at the Tanz Industries. They walk into that lobby there, and he kind of gives a pep talk to her or whatever about the meteor there. And honestly, I can't pronounce. It's something Oid. The meteor there with the crystals or something like that. Yeah, I can't pronounce that, but anyways, he calls her that and says, she's unique, and makes her feel better, and gets her on her way there to her first day, basically. But that also, of course, foreshadows what's going to happen later in the episode. So, interesting stuff there. So then Grace shows Harris the text that Darius sent her the night of when the probe was hacked that we saw last episode. But there's been no proof of any hackers yet. They haven't found any. The U.S. intelligence hasn't found any. So then Harris, Grace, and the feds go looking for Darius. They find him at that airplane runway talking to Laszlo there, which is his head of security, and he plays a big part in both of these episodes, really. And then Darius is arrested by Harris. He says you're under arrest for high treason or something like that. So, kind of interesting there. And then we have, and then of course when they bring Darius in, Darius won't talk to Harris, and basically it's like a standstill. Nothing's happening really, but they need to get information out of him because, as we learned, they only have so many hours before they can get this probe back up and trying to contact the asteroid. So then Darius, of course, says he will speak to Grace. Excuse me, sorry. He says that he'll speak to Grace instead, but he's not saying anything to Harris or anyone else. Of course, that's just to get her into the room. And so he can give her his little drive, which this was kind of a gruesome scene. We had lots of gruesome scenes in this double episodes, or both episodes, I should say. Excuse me. But yeah, so he actually like carves this little drive. I think it was like out of his thumb or something like that there, or his in between skin there. And he digs that out with his teeth, I think, or something like that. It's pretty gross. But he takes this out and he gives it to Grace, and he slips it in her pocket, I think it is. And so then that little drive will basically then recognize her as him at Tan's Industries, so he can so he has the clearance to go anywhere she pleases. Of how he would. So pretty interesting there. He obviously, and then he wants her to find something, and he says, find salvation. So at the time, of course, we all are thinking, okay, that's the name of the show, right? We're not really connecting that, but then later we find out what the salvation is. Pretty interesting there. So then Croft and Liam try to figure out the EM drive. They have problems with it, and honestly, the whole science part of this kind of, just flies right over, right? I'm just here to be entertained, sort of thing. I'm not like a big science guy, and that's not the reason I'm really watching the show, but I do enjoy some parts of it. So they need like new inner walls or something to keep it stable so it doesn't crash. That's what I got out of it. Obviously, it's more high-tech than that, but, that's just me. So obviously, they need, and they tried copper and that didn't work, and, Croft's naming all these things that they've already tried, so obviously they have to find, something, and then, of course, Croft says, that we need something that doesn't exist on Earth, right? So that kind of foreshadows a little bit. At that point, I still didn't realize about the whole storyline there, about Liam finding what he does, yeah, so that was a good job by the episode there to still keep it a mystery, but kind of lead us there. So this was kind of interesting, but probably my least favorite part of the episode is Jillian being a part of this group now to pick the 160, and so that's the 160 that are going to be on this Mars mission to basically repopulate the human race on Mars. So it'll be pretty like hard job there. And I don't know. I think it's so unrealistic that, she would be picked for this. And obviously, Darius is doing it for, obviously, I think a bigger purpose than just her being there with Liam. I think it's for something bigger and for something more. Not sure yet. Obviously, we haven't seen anything yet for that. But that's my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of you guys think that as well. Pretty obvious with the stuff that Darius has done. So basically, she's part of this group, and she's singled out on her first day, and she says, her opinion on that the artist, some artists should be a part of the 160, and not just the technical guys who can work a computer or fix a motor or something, or fix an engine, something like that. The one guy said, and so she's kind of singled out for having that opinion. I kind of agree with her a little bit. I think that's very reasonable. Yeah, so she's kind of upset about that, and she feels that is the right thing, but no one really agrees with her because they're all high educated guys from Harvard and MIT, like they were saying, right? So kind of interesting there that she sticks with her opinion, and so that's also good too. It shows a part of her character that she's strong and she's determined to get her way, I guess. So yeah. So then we get to Grace and Liam go in that little it looked like a golf cart, but it had like Tan's Industries on it, so it's like one of his own carts there, and they find where the salvation, so we find out this here that it's a that's a spaceship, and it's being hidden in this bunker. Now, this is another thing about this show, and I'm kind of ignoring it a little bit because I can expect it now. But basically, like, they go in this little bunker, this elevator. They go, I think Liam said it's like 100 something stories below ground or something like that. They come out on this little like deck there, and then this huge spaceship's just underground. It's kind of, I don't know. It's really cool, like, to have his own like cave basically underground with this big spaceship here, but so unrealistic. Like, I mean, it like, I don't know. It'd be pretty impossible to build something like that, but really cool nonetheless. And I mean, Darius Tans has a lot of money, so maybe, he can do whatever he wants. Sort of. That's what the show's trying to show us. I don't know. But I mean, yes, it was interesting. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty interesting. But basically, they find the spaceship, and then Grace, connects it back to Salvation. They also find the important documents. The Bill of Rights that he bought is there, and a Bible. Really important Earth documents there. And so basically, Grace and Liam don't really piece it together why he has those. But for me, it makes sense because, and I think they figured it out later. But for me, it made sense right away that he's getting these documents. So then, when this mission goes to Mars, they can look back and have all these stuff from Earth. And then, of course, when the human race then thrives on Mars, then, we can look back at history and look back at, the humans used to live on Earth or something like that, right? So it's kind of a cool idea in itself there, just to have the human population on Mars. And I'm starting to wonder if that's sort of where the show's going to go in season 2 or season 3, if it is renewed. Now would be really, really cool. We haven't seen that on a TV show or a movie screen. I don't think really ever that a human population has rebirthed basically on Mars. So really interesting there. I hope they do that, because that would be amazing. So then we also see, though, when they leave for that bunker, that Laszlo is watching them from the computer. So the show is kind of setting up here that Laszlo is doing something shady here, and watching them for some reason, which, if he wasn't doing something sort of, borderline illegal or something, or being a traitor, then why would he be watching them, right? So, kind of create some mystery there. But then they also, of course, with that bunker, prove that Darius did not do it because there was no cell service down there. So that is pretty big there. So then we see Darius get waterboarded and tortured, basically, to get information out of him. So that was kind of hard to watch there. But I'm not sure if that's how waterboarding really goes. I'm sure that it would be a lot worse than what we saw. But obviously, I mean, the show isn't the most realistic at times. But to be honest, I can't really speak. I've never seen it before. I bet basically like no one has, unless you're in the high up in the government, right? But anyways, kind of a gruesome scene there. But obviously, they had no other options. They didn't have much time, and so they need to get information out of Darius because they still think he did it. So then basically, Laszlo helps Grace and Liam find the connection at Tan's Industries to the hack. So he says that a server's been set up and that the hack is on it, and you guys need to ask Darius about it because he's the only one who knows. So that's pretty interesting there. So then Grace, of course, convinces Harris. Then after Laszlo tells them that, Grace convinces Harris that Darius is innocent and to trust her at her word. And she said, I put my life on it or whatever. So a pretty big moment there, of course, for her to say that. So, Harris ends up trusting her, thank God. And the needle is stopped there. Darius is about to get that needle there. So he would, cough up the information. And so they let him go. They give him a phone, and so that he can tell Liam where this connection, or where he thinks this connection will be, and so that they can stop the hack. So then Darius tells, and I'm going pretty fast here, but this is a pretty fast moving show as well. So in fairness, so then Darius tells Liam on the phone where to find the signal, And it's actually at this arcade machine in the break room that Darius has set up for himself quite a while ago, but it's been inactive for a bit, I think he said. And so over the phone, Liam then finds this machine, and then he finds this little computer device in the back of it hooked up, like Darius says, and he turns it off. And of course, it was off, but then now he turns it on or something like that. And then he sees the information coming on the arcade machine, so he obviously figures out that, this was the hack. Then he's able to disable it, which is another unrealistic moment. I mean, this hack is hacking in at NASA, and it's stopping, them from connecting to a probe on an arcade machine. And he says, "Oh yeah, I think I can stop it," and just hits a button, and it's gone, and they get control. So I don't know, it's kind of weird that he can just press one button and delete it all. But anyways. And maybe the hack at that point was non-working anymore, and it can just be shut down. I don't know, but just kind of seemed really unrealistic, honestly. But kind of an interesting scene there to hide in the arcade machine. So then the hack is stopped, of course, and NASA is able to get the probe back. But unfortunately, as Harris says, they get to it too late, and the probe, they get it, everything's going well, and then all of a sudden, it kind of loses steam. And the gravity from Jupiter, the one guy says, I think, what is his name? Is it Griffin? Something like that. The one control guy there, or Dexter. I think it's Dexter, maybe. I'm not sure, but I honestly forget. But I'm gonna stop guessing. Anyway, so the gravity pulls this probe down to Jupiter, and they start losing control, and then basically it just crashes down, goes into the orbit of Jupiter, and it's a lost cause, and mission fails. So, kind of an unfortunate event there, but fortunate for Darius and basically all the viewers, that I don't think we really wanted them to do that plan or that to succeed, really. So kind of an, it's kind of a sad moment, but also a good moment at the same time. So then we see Laszlo looking at the security footage of this hacker putting this little computer drive into this arcade machine. So he finds the footage, and he finds out who did it, and he knows that this footage is really important to finding basically this hacker. And obviously, as we see later on, he actually figures out who it is exactly, and he calls them into his office. But I will get to that for episode 5. So then, of course, Harris and Grace think Laszlo is guilty. They pull up his record that Darius has paid to be hidden. And they question him. Why are you hiring a guy with this kind of record? Stuff like that. So then, of course, the feds, along with Harris and Grace, go to find Laszlo, ask him some questions, because they think for sure that he's the mole, and that he should be arrested instead of Darius, of course. But Darius is kind of torn, because he still trusts him a little bit, even after this proof has been uncovered. So then Liam discovers, of course, the meteor from Darius's trophy case will work for the emdrive when he talks to Jillian there about saying she's unique, and calls her that meteor again. Not sure the name, something Ite, and yeah, so he figures it out that that's an unearthly object there that that has unique crystals that aren't from Earth, and that could actually be what the emdrive needs to work. And it can be that material to make the walls stronger, and so that the emdrive can succeed. So basically, then of course, so he takes the meteor out of the trophy case there, and he was about to break in, and then he asks Tessa to unlock it or whatever. It's kind of funny. So he takes that, they scale it down, and they start putting in the emdrive. So then Darius, Harris, and Grace then go to the treehouse where Laszlo is said to be there, and they find him dead in the office there on the chair, looking at the computer, and it looks to be that he committed suicide, as he knew that the walls were closing in or something like that. Harris says that. So obviously that just makes him more innocent. Darius doesn't really have a leg to stand on here because it kind of is just proof in itself that, Laszlo's the mole and that, he did all of it. So kind of an unfortunate moment there, of course, as we learn next episode that Laszlo isn't so guilty himself. So then, of course, the end of the episode there is the crystals from that meteor work for the EM drive, and this EM drive is finally successful, and it actually works. The first ever EM drive built, and Liam and Croft finally succeed. So they've already spent, I think, since episode 2, they were working on this, and it's obviously been weeks in the show's time. Obviously, it's been like 3 weeks since we've seen episode 2, but like, I'm talking like in the show, it's been weeks, and they finally figured this out. But I mean, that's still lightning speed, right? To figure out an EM drive that's never been invented. Another part of the unrealisticness here of this show, but definitely interesting. I mean, that they can do this, and of course, the show can't really have them trying to figure it out for months and months on end, because that just wouldn't be entertaining to watch for us viewers of the show. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be too much of a boring scene of them just trying to work at it, right? So just speed up process, make it interesting, and I'm happy they did it. So yeah, that's basically it. The EM drive sort of like takes off there in their little test pilot thing there, and that's how we close it out. So really cool that they got this EM drive working, and of course that leads to a lot of things in episode 5. So let's get to my rating in this one. So for this episode, I gave it a 4.7 out of 5. And so I really like this episode. This and episode 5 were both really, really good episodes. And I like the way they connected some of these stories now with Jillian and her 160 group, kind of connecting that on with Liam and sort of bringing those storylines together, and that's what helps Liam find this meteor and solve the EM drive. I like that was solved. That also added to this rating. That Grace, is being honest with Harris now, and Harris, trusting her, definitely adds more to that as well. And we see the Salvation spaceship and what that could lead to in future episodes, even future seasons down the line. So it's a really cool episode. I think it was well done. Great acting as usual. That's basically all that. I mean, and the Laszlo whole character there of how they sort of are tricking us to believe, that he's the mole, and they do a really good job of it. The whole hiding the hack in the arcade machine, really unique and a smart way to do it. Just a good episode all around. It wasn't. I honestly was thinking of making this a almost perfect or a 4.9, but the whole stuff with Jillian's group was kind of turned me off a little bit from this episode, just because of how unrealistic it was and how she sort of acts towards the other people. That was the only really thing that kind of brought this one down. That was just about it. She is kind of getting annoying in the show, to be honest. For me, maybe not for you guys, for not all viewers, but for me, she's kind of getting a little annoying. And she's and Liam still can't tell her about the whole world ending and all the stuff he knows. So she's definitely becoming sort of I don't know how to say it, like kind of not a useless character, but sort of just an outsider to what is really going on, and that obviously creates problems. So my favorite character for this one was Grace Barrows. And so far in this show, I've kind of realized that Grace, Liam, and Darius are sort of they kind of have a three-way tandem of main characters in this show, while a lot of other shows just have one, maybe two. But they kind of have a three-way tandem here because, Liam, Grace, and Darius, they basically all have equal camera time, really, in these episodes. They have the same amount of scenes. They each, have storylines usually. And even in this, Grace and Darius are even together a lot as well. And they're both main characters. So anyways, I really like Grace in this one. I liked her honesty to Harris in the beginning, showing him the text that Darius sent her, and she didn't have to do that. Grace going to Tan's Industries, finding the salvation with Liam, working with him. Her convincing Harris that Darius is innocent and stopping the waterboarding and the torture. That was a really, that's just a good thing, a good, quality to have, that she has a heart and, she cares about Darius and all that, so that was nice to see some compassion there from her. And she's sort of all over the place, right? She's helping here, she's here, and she's at Tan's Industries doing this, right? Helping Liam. So I really like her character, and the actor for her is really good. I don't know the actor for that plays her off by heart. I know Santiago Cabrera, that took a while, is Darius Tans, and he's great as well, of course. And Anthony Dale for Harris. I've seen him in some of his roles before. But yeah, so just the acting in the show in general is good. Or not good, but well done for TV. And so yeah, Grace Barrows really liked her character this week, and I also liked it in episode 5 as well, just as much really. So anyways, guys, that is it for me for episode 4 of Salvation. Coming up right after this review will be the episode 5 review, as we got a double episode this week. So yeah, only 2 weeks left, guys, of Salvation left. Kind of sad about it, to be honest. I wanted the show to last a little bit longer, but it's all right. Hopefully it'll get a season 2, and we'll be right back at it again at this time next year, or maybe a little bit earlier. Who knows? Anyways, guys, that's it for me. I will see you guys for Salvation, Season 1, Episode 5, right after this.